Welcome to our Breakthrough Podcast, coming to you live from Ohio, taking you from a breakdown to a breakthrough, from pain to purpose, from your past to living your greatest story. Stay locked in. I'm your host, Vernae Taylor. Welcome back to our Breakthrough Podcast. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. I am your host, Vernae Taylor, and I'm super excited about the guest we have today. She is reigning in from Costa Rica. Come on now, we international up in here in our Breakthrough Podcast. And so I don't even want to mess up this introduction. I want her to make sure that she can introduce herself, but I'm so happy to have her here. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, good morning. I'm Sheri M. Gaskin, and who am I? I am a woman. I am a Black woman. I'm a child of God. I am a mother. I'm a wife. I'm also an artist, a writer, an author, and an entrepreneur, and an educator.
That's nice. Oh, well, honey, you are multifaceted. That's a lot. So we're definitely going to unpack some of that stuff. So welcome. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel anxious, but I feel good.
Okay. And that's good. And you know what they say? They say even Beyonce, who is like mega, right? She says she still gets nervous and gets the butterflies before she gets on stage. And I think that's important for us to feel something, right? Before we do something really exciting. So, honey, if even Beyonce can feel a little butterfly, it's okay that we can both feel a little anxious and anxiety today. But you said a lot of things. I mean, and I love that. First of all, you're a woman and you're a Black woman. Anyone that knows me knows... You know, we're here with that, and it's really important. And because of that, we're so multifaceted. We wear so many hats. So let's break down some of what you said. Talk about one of those roles or hats that you actually wear throughout your life.
I think that the role that I feel the most proud of wearing is being a child of God, and being a woman. I think that those, in essence, like you said, as a Black woman, capture pretty much everything that I am, and everything else kind of falls into what I do. But at the core of who I am, I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, and I'm a child of God. And, the journey to understanding that was hard. It was arduous. I don't feel special in regards to the things that I went through necessarily, but I feel like they were necessary to come to that core understanding that is who I am, regardless of the circumstances of my life at any given time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I think that's really important because we're talking about breakthroughs, and a lot of that, it comes from our spirit, our soul, it comes from within. So the fact that you identify and the one you're most proud of is being a child of God, it resonates with me. And I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of people that are listening. So take us back to when you discovered God, discovered your spirituality, and actually started your own relationship to the point where you can own that hat and that role. I am a child of God. So talk about that.
Okay. I always like to go back to my elementary school days because I think that set the precedent for me in my misunderstanding of who I was. And so I attended a parochial school.
Oh, what does that mean?
That means like a school, like it's religious based. It's more religious funded. And so in this case, it was a Christian school. And we were divided by who were the congregation of the church and who weren't, like who wasn't. Like that was very clear in the classroom, in the way we were treated and the way we were punished. And so I think that oddly enough, like even though like the focus was God and we were in those religious classes, they made it clear that we were not accepted. We were not included. And I think that I wore that feeling about my relationship with God for a long time. Like, well, what is it that I don't have that puts me on the outside? You know, is it just that I'm not a church member? Is it now, then you start looking at, okay, maybe I'm going to, I'll just go a little further. And so then we transitioned out of that school and we went into a Catholic parochial school, same thing.
Okay.
And same thing, church kids, non-church kids. But in this case, but in this case, I was with a group, mostly Black children. And then the issue of your complexion came into play.
Wow.
So it's like, well, this one is dark and this one is light, right? And so it's like, okay, where do I fit? So it's another variation of where am I fitting into and why don't I fit in? What is wrong with me? And so I think for the most of my life, even though I was successful in a lot of ways, I felt like being me and gaining traction was about work. And so like a lot of Black women, a lot of successful college educated Black women, I think I kind of fell into the space of anything that I have to earn, I have to grind.
Yeah.
And so my grinding season was what defined what really was my transition point, because I wouldn't say rock bottom. I couldn't justify saying that I hit rock bottom. I was very successful, like I said, in a lot of ways, but I crashed. I literally crashed. I mean, physically crashed, literally crashed, spiritually crashed. I just hit a low space. And I'm like, God, like, what am I not doing? Like, who do I have to be in order, to be what everybody wants: seen, heard, loved, and respected.
Yes.
Like, all the things, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
all we want. That's all we desire. Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So when I hit that crash, and I think that was my fall, and which we all know, like the fall is right before the crawl, which is right before the stand, right? Like we know that. That's when I was like, okay, I surrender. There's nothing else that I can do.
Okay.
Like, I can't do anything. I've succeeded. I can't do anymore. Who would I have to be? Who do I have to be?
Yeah.
And that's when I began to hear God's voice saying, you were already enough.
Wow.
Like I chose you, like I chose you. And I've been covering you. Like, even though, like, the outside world has an idea of what you're supposed to be and what value you bring to the table. Mm-hmm. None of those things are important at the end of the day.
I know that's right. Didn't we learn that?
Right. So,
yeah.
That was where it started for me.
Wow. Well, that was powerful. A lot of what you said resonated with me. And I got chills when you said, you got to the point where you heard God say you are already enough. You were already enough. You are enough. And something about just hearing that, whether you felt it, whether you heard it audibly, just knowing that is really the key to life, right? It is the key to this idea of success, because we all define it differently. And so you talk about this fall or the break. What do you think caused that break? Do you think it was like your body saying, okay, enough is enough. You've done too much. Mm-hmm. You're going too hard? Because like you said, you talked about that grind.
Yeah.
What do you think compelled you to just say, okay, this is not working and I need to figure out something else? What was that turning point? Because I know you went from elementary to, was it high school? Was it later on in your
it
later
was all of it? Middle school, high school, elementary, and it transitioned into college, not so much, because I at that point, by the time I reached college, I kind of was just aware of the fact that I get to make certain choices. I didn't really know my manifestation power at that time, but I knew
these words, these powerful words you're dropping.
I get to choose. So I was aware. My awareness was there, but my fall is when I surrendered. And I would say,
I love that, surrender.
It just kind of happened. Like, it just kind of felt like, like, you just know. I think you kind of know that your box is too small. Mm-hmm. And you kind of know that, like, I always used to have a fear. And that's the weird, kind of the dichotomy of who I am, is that I have, like, I wouldn't call it humility, because it kind of feels false. It's a shrinking. Like, I have a shrinking violet kind of syndrome, but also I'm very driven at the same time. And so I think I got into a habit of downplaying myself.
Wow.
And I would go to work and, like, overperform in every way, but then never really actually feel successful, never feel full. And I think when I got to the point where I felt like I checked all the boxes, I'm a mother, I'm a homeowner, I'm making 6 figures, I'm doing the things, right? I'm getting the accolades, and still not feeling full, still at a certain point, kind of like satiated on, is this it for me? Like, I started having suicidal fantasies, and just kind of feeling like this is not it for me. And then the whole thing crumbled, and thank God. Like, thank God it crumbled, because something needed to break. Like, I think I would just keep going. I would just keep grinding. And as I'm grinding, I'm becoming numb. And so, like, the way you brought up the idea of the fact that we need to feel something, like, that was the first time, like kind of crashing in that way was like the first time I felt something in a long time. And
Wow.
thank God, thank God, because
Right.
I need my feelings, and I need to be a feeler. I'm a feeler,
Yeah.
and I feel things intuitively. I feel things deeply. Especially the low. I would say some of the more. I don't want to frame them as negative emotions, but some of the more complex emotions like anger and depression. Like, I naturally gravitate to that. I've been holding space for people who have felt these feelings and these dark feelings for my entire life, and I think I became a cushion for that. And I did not feel joy. I had no feeling of. I had no feeling. I literally had no feeling. And so crashing was a blessing for me, in so many ways, because when that broke and I felt something again, I'm like, okay, there's an awareness of what I want. Like, I've got a chance to think about what I want. Like, I haven't thought about what I want for such a long time before that. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. First off, everything you're saying is really resonating with me. It is so bizarre that the things that you're saying is things that I'm experiencing currently. So
Mm-hmm.
it is crazy how those energies align, and how the timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
The people
Yeah.
we connect to, the people that we're drawn to, everything has a reason and a season. So you said so many things. First of all, I applaud you for the awareness that you had. I mean, first of all, in elementary, I'm sorry you even had to go through that, because I've worked in schools with kids, and elementary is such a pivotal
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a shaping of who you're going to be or who
Yeah.
you want to be. And that's why I realized whenever I was teaching or in a classroom, I realized the responsibility, because, oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness,
Mm-hmm.
imagine how a little kid feels. And if they keep those feelings and they don't do anything about it, where they would end up, if
Right. So
and
true.
yeah. So thank God, like you said, you had that awareness at a really, really, like, small, and young age. And then to carry that where you're constantly digging deeper and asking, like, okay, what else is there? Because a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people can
Mm-hmm.
relate to this society that we're in. Work, 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 work,
Yeah.
right? If you are
Yeah.
your titles, you are your accolades, you are these numbers that precede your name. I mean, the letters that precede your name or after your name. And if you're not doing any of those things, you almost feel like less than. And
Right. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
wow, a
And
lot
it's
of,
set up like that on purpose. That's the thing.
yes.
It's
Oh
set
my
up so that you're
goodness.
constantly on the treadmill, and then you never feel good enough, and then you keep overproducing until you crash and die. Like that.
Yeah.
That is the design. That's the system.
Yeah.
Um, but I think for me, when I watched, two things happen. I watched, one of my friends who her mother to me was like a rock. Like, there is no, like, my mother got sick also, and but I grew up with my mother. And my mother is very sensitive and vulnerable, and we so seeing her sick, even though it kind of was like sad for me and it was hard for me, I understood her because I've been watching her in and out of pain and in and out of her womanhood journey. But my friend's mother, like, she is what I thought was just like a bull, like a powerhouse,
Wow.
fiery bull. And when I watched her die from
Oh
brain cancer in a
man.
process of 4 months, like, seeing that woman just
Wow.
crumble
Oh my
in such a short time, I'm like, okay, that's enough. Because we don't have the promise of tomorrow. Like, we really
goodness.
don't.
Right.
And
Right.
all that grind for what? Like, at the end of the day, like, she didn't get to live out her retirement. She didn't get to fall in love again. She didn't get to travel as far as she wanted to travel. She was expecting that, at 55, when she retires, that she'll have the time and space for that. And the reality is that there is no guarantee that we're going to make it that far.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm like, okay, if this is going to be my last, these are going to be my last days. I want to decide what those days are going to look like and what they're going to feel like, and who I'm going to be in those, that time in my life and that season. And I think understanding, like, for me, understanding, like you said, timing and God's timing and how that works. Like, I didn't get that then. I didn't get that when I was young, or I was in middle school or high school or college. I didn't understand God's timing. I saw it as rejection. And so the rejection hit, and it was like, oh, but to understand that, no, that was actually your covering. And there's certain things that are not for you in those seasons. And there's certain things that you need to learn at this particular phase in your life. And that it's not forever, that you are going to get what is for you. You just have to kind of push through. And it doesn't have to always be like hit rock bottom, but it definitely has to be like in your time and in your season, And I think if I had that understanding a little bit earlier, I may have not had to fall. I might have felt my joy and different, I would have understood it. I wouldn't have felt someone's no and someone's decision not to love me in the way that I felt I should be loved as an indictment on who I was and my value. I would have understood it as, oh, okay, this is for this season and I'm here to learn something. And then I'm going to take that to my next thing. And that's what's going to, elevate me individually. I didn't understand that till later on. But once I understood it, I understood it.
Well, first off, listen, I just got to say, you just the way that you talk, I got to go and look back and see if I read your contribution, because we definitely need to talk about that. Just the way you talk, you could tell that you are poetic. And it's weird. It's just weird. The way that you speak, there's something about your awareness and depth that a lot of people just don't have. So I want to take us back to when you say you didn't have that awareness and then you got it. And you feel like, okay, you got to rock bottom and that's where the turning point was. How did you get out of this space where you said that you had these suicidal fantasies? How did you get out of this space of feeling like, okay, I've done everything. Check, 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 check. And I still don't feel anything. Check, 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 check. And I'm still not experiencing joy. Check, 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 check. And I still don't feel enough. How did you dig yourself out of that, right? Because you said the crawl and then you walk and then you're standing again. So how did you get to that point?
I think that just to even imagine that I did it by myself is, that was not like, there's no way I could have done it by myself. And I think that was my first step, is realizing that there's no way I can do it by myself and I need help. And I just kind of put out a call to help to one of my coworkers, who was my friend at the time, who was my friend, she's a friend. And I was like, I am having these thoughts. I don't feel right and I need help. Can you help me find somebody? And because she's a therapist, she's a social worker. And the school therapist also. And there were two women that she came. I was like, preferably a woman of color, because I had tried to do therapy before and it was a non-woman of color.
Yes, I understand.
I just didn't relate. I didn't feel like that was a space for me. And so I didn't want to write off therapy, but I was just like, okay, like I know that in order for me to feel vulnerable and not be judged or feel like I'm being judged, I need somebody that I could at least see myself in, and have them see themselves in me. And so having a woman of color was just like the top thing on my list. And she came back with two names, and one of the names, I just went right for the Black one. And going into therapy was like literally the first step. Asking for help from one and then getting the help, accepting the help. Yes. And therapy was obviously not easy. It was obviously uncovering things that I have never talked about with somebody. And I, to the point that I'm just like, I'm failing therapy because I just did not feel like, you just kind of learn as a child that certain things you don't talk about. Like you keep
or you just don't tell people or strangers.
Exactly. Yeah. But she was just like, well, what did you come here for? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just over time just began to share like what is going on inside of my mind, like what's going on inside of my brain, and just sorting out the things in my life that were no longer serving me. And I got to a point where it was very clear, like my life is going in this direction and I have to make some hard choices. And I made some hard choices and I don't regret them, because I think that I was so used to settling for the bare minimum because I didn't believe ultimately, like regardless of what all the things that I've accomplished, that I deserved better, or that I was worth better, or that more was out there for me. I was holding on to what I had, but I wasn't thinking about that there's so much stuff ahead of you. Like you're looking back to things behind you, but you can't even see how far things go for you. Yeah. And it was two trips that I took that year. I would call it my big transition year.
Talk about that.
Yeah, like it was very clear. Like I went, my friend, she had a farm upstate, and I packed my son in the car and we drove upstate.
And this is upstate New York?
Yes, upstate New York. And when she invited me just to sit on her farm, and I was just on the porch one morning, and I saw the sun, and I looked over, and it was just like infinite green. And I was like, wow, I cannot even see the ends of that green. Like just plants and trees and grass. And I'm like, the world is big. Like it was just a small seed. Like the world is big. And then like in that same summer, my friends went on a camping trip to Lake George, and that's also upstate New York.
Okay.
And they had a lake, and I was in the lake, and I just looked out, infinite water. And the same feeling over me came. It just was just like, there is so much more that you cannot see. You don't even have the capacity to see what God has for you. Wow. And so you're going to have to let certain things go. You're going to have to walk away from certain situations. You're going to have to step out of your home so you can even get a glimpse of what's ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And I think once there was clear, like those two visuals were so clear for me. Like I can't even think about my system because they live in me at this point.
Yeah,
I knew that it was time. And from then forward, it was just taking more risks, saying more yeses.
Yeah.
Just yes to this, yes to that. I'll try it. Okay. It doesn't make me like even this. Like this is not my default. I don't come
I know. I'm so glad you came because oh my goodness. This is blessing me. And I know it's gonna bless someone else. Oh my gosh. First of all, let me reiterate some of the things that you said, and then I want to see if I can just talk a little bit about what you wrote in this book, honey, because I just know that whatever you wrote is powerful, and I gotta read it if I haven't read it already. But first of all, you just said so many nuggets, so many things that I feel like people need to catch. First of all, just recently, after you just got through speaking, you talked about asking for help and then accepting it. And I love that you made the distinction. That's two separate steps. Mm-hmm. That's two separate things. Because first of all, it's really hard for people to ask for help, especially women, especially Black women, right? Because we've wore a lot, we've carried a lot on our shoulders because we're kind of like expected to, and that's not right? Because we're still human and we do need balance. But the fact that you then accepted it, that you talked about that moment, that moment, aha moment, if you will, where the therapist says, why are you here? Why did you come? And kudos to you for really taking that in and understanding, wow, that's a really good question. Yeah. And then that's when you took it seriously, because I know I've always been one for therapy. I've been in therapy for nearly 10 years and it's work. It is work to show up every day. I realize now it's work to show up every day and wake up every day and be happy. It really is a choice. Yeah. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that you talked about, taking more risk and pushing through. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about breakthroughs, but it's about that through, right? You can't go around it. You got to go through. Yeah. And then you talked about the visuals. I could visualize it because I'm a visual person. And then as a writer, we always create imagery with our words. Yeah. So I just could see you at the farm. I could see you there. I could see you in this green and like the fields just going on and on and on. I could see you in the lake. And I could imagine how that could be a turning point for you. Just to do that, right? Just to take a break. Yeah. I'm sure your son had a good time. He did. They love little field trips, right? So I can really appreciate that. And then another thing you said that I thought was really key, because I've said it too, and I've even prayed it. The idea of letting go of things that no longer serve you. Oh my gosh. That is so important, right? Because you said I have to take more risk. I need to say more yeses. So if I'm going to catch on to new things, I need to let go of some old things. So I can appreciate that. So tell me, what was the name of your contribution in this book, guys? We need you to see this because I need to go to it, and we need to read a little excerpt or something, because this is just, I know that whatever she wrote in here is powerful. So what is the name of your contribution in here?
My piece is Black Love, the Antidote.
Oh my gosh, I think I read it. I think I did. I'm all about #Black Love. Now, I have never been married. I pray that is my ministry. I don't know that motherhood is.
It's a lot, girl. Either one.
But I love love, and I love Black love. So, oh wow, that's amazing. I think I did read this, and Let me see. I think it's 151. So I just want people to know. Tell us about your inspiration in first of all, why were you compelled to be a part of this project? And then what was your inspiration between the Black Love is the Antidote? Okay, while I look for it.
Okay. One of my friends, Helen, I think you interviewed her.
Yes.
We've
Shout out
just
to
been
Helen.
circling each other. We love each other. And, we both write. And I'm like, okay, in my things of yeses, I want to be more public because I think that writing for me was something that was so private for so long. And I'm like, okay, it's time. And so I did create a blog, which we'll talk about later. And from that blog is where I excerpted my piece from. And
Nice.
that piece and the story of the blog is the same thing. It's the leap of faith. It's the leap of faith of falling in love. It's the leap of faith of taking this adventure and packing up my family and leaving all our accoutrements and traveling the world together. That's the story. And so the Black love component of it, I was focusing on because I just feel like we hear so many contrary things and nobody actually really teaches us how to love, what it looks like, what love looks like in practice, right? It's so easy to just say it. But what does it actually look like to show up in love every single day, regardless of whatever is coming through? And how do you work? How do you partner with somebody? And is it okay to want that? Is it okay to need that? Like we need it. We need partners in this life for whatever reason or whatever season we need that. And that's okay to desire that as a Black woman. It's okay to rest in that. Like that is okay. And I think in terms of my journey of asking for help and surrendering, falling in love, I wouldn't even call it falling in love, being in love and marrying my husband and doing this adventure that we're doing together, like that was in alignment with that, like the risk and all of that stuff. Like that was just another step on the journey.
Oh my gosh. Listen, first of all, I don't want this to end. And I'm like, we're going to have to get you back because this is just too good. Oh my God. Let me just read a couple of lines and then we're going to wrap it up and then you're going to tell the people how they can get in contact with you. Okay. Black Love, the Antidote from I Am the Revolution, Notes from a Black Woman Time Traveler. And this is Sheri M. McKnight Gaskin. Being in love is like leaving all your windows and doors open and allowing someone to explore the inside of you. It is rare and vulnerable. Yet it is one of the deepest and richest ways to really get to know yourself in the form of another human being. Wow. When it is received and reciprocated, it's a soul deposit. It is seed implementation. Let me say that word again. Implantation. It is the budding and the blooming. It is the fruitful and it's powerful. Falling in love is far more temporary and happenstance, but being in love is a force and a presence. It is how you show up in the world with your partner. It is, I love her, him. This is my person. I stand up for her and him, and nothing can get between us kind of bond. That with the right material and practice can be indivisible and impenetrable. It is respect and deference. Wow. Oh, man.
So beautiful. Thank you for reading that.
Oh, gosh. Oh, you're so deep. Okay, I got chills. I just need to listen. We have to get you back because I could literally talk to you for days. You are poetry in motion. I can't believe that we got to talk about, first of all, your adventure and how you got to Costa Rica. And you're so New York. I hear it in your voice. And so I'm an East Coast girl. So the fact that you're in Costa Rica and that is on my bucket list, I just want you to know. So, honey, listen, if you ever decide to do a retreat, I'll be there. Okay,
heard you.
Just so you know, I will be there. Listen,
heard you.
Glam camp, whatever. I don't know, whatever you got going on in Costa Rica, we could definitely do that. But oh my God, this has been so amazing. I know the people that are listening are going to just eat this up. This is so good. People, you have to know that you gotta tap in to who this woman is and what she's doing. So tell the people how they can get in contact with you and what are you offering right now in your business or promoting that you really want them to know.
Sure. Thank you for the space. My blog is blackandwanderlust.com. You can follow us on IG, Black and Wanderlust. I also have a CBD business, Cumulus Clouds, CBD.com. And really, I'm available on those sites. We have an e-commerce. One of my original designs, I drew a symbol that reflects follow God and go in faith. And so we wear that. And that's available in our e-commerce store. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Black and Wanderless.
Oh my goodness. Well, you heard it here, guys. Our Breakthrough podcast. This was a good one. I don't even know where we're going to put this, because this is like a bonus right here with Sheri M. Gaskin, reigning in from Costa Rica. This is our Breakthrough podcast. I am your host, Vernae Taylor, where we can take you and give you the breakthrough map to go from pain to purpose, break down the breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. I love you all. Thank you so much for being with us today. Make sure you like and subscribe on all social media platforms. And until next time, keep breaking through. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to our Breakthrough podcast, where we learn to navigate life's challenges and dare to live our greatest story. Follow our Breakthrough podcast across all media platforms and subscribe. I'm your host, Vernae Taylor. Till next time, keep breaking through.